I find it a good way to learn things about other places where I don't live. You know, you look at the hashtag. Sometimes you see people's selfies and stuff like, well, just what's going on, like in those parts of town or whatever, or parts of the world. And I think this was I don't remember which country hashtag I was following that had Ancestral, hi Laura Sam, hi Mompreneur. And so what was interesting is that now this was in Africa, like I said, these are mostly Africans that are in the comments, and that's why I like to look at stuff like that. I look at the comments. If you guys are in my stories, you know that sometimes when I see interesting shit on stories, I don't know why I paused, but it paused for a second, but we're back. So I find that to be interesting. So somebody was like, it's all stemming from that show, Somebody Loves Abiola or Adiola or some shit like that. And I guess it's, you know, a discussion has ensued from this show because they're talking very negatively about Black Americans, and I'm kind of in shock a little bit.
If I were to marry again,
You will.
I won't.
You will.
I won't.
You
I
will.
won't. But if I were to marry again, it will only be to a Nigerian man.
Only? That kind of narrows down your options, doesn't it?
Don't listen to her. She has many options. Top of the list, Nigerian man, same tribe.
Yoruba,
Then Nigerian man, different tribe.
Igbo,
Then other Africans,
except Tunisians and Egyptians.
obviously. Then Caribbean, then white, then African American.
Wait. So a black man is last on your list? Below white men?
You get it.
I get that you full of crap. All you Africans think you better than us. Well, what?
You don't make it easy for yourselves.
What's that supposed to mean?
Oh, come on. Gangbangers, welfare stamps, the baby mamas.
You just buy into that racist propaganda you see on TV. There are more white people on food stamps and welfare than black people.
That's not what it says on the Fox News.
Which is fair and balanced.
Okay, I'll tell you what. Next time I get an email from a Nigerian prince, you want me to assume it's one of you heifers trying to scam me?
Calm down, both of you. Kemi, you're upsetting Gloria.
You both upsetting Glory. You think white folks see a difference between us? To them, we all look the same. You get pulled over by a cop, he's not gonna see your little ranking system. He's just gonna see this.
We wouldn't get pulled over. We obey the traffic laws.
I live in New York where I'm the only American, and like I've never really experienced this, and I wonder if people just know not to talk to me crazy, or if they don't feel that way. I'm starting because it's so crazy. But anyway, the dialogue in the comments started going and talking about how Africans sold us, descendants of slavery, into slavery. Now, I've heard prior that yes, that this did happen, but and their understanding of what slavery meant, it wasn't the Caucasian or the white supremacist type of slavery. Hi, Jay De Niro. And that's what I've always heard, right? And that's what I've always thought it was, and that's how I viewed it, right? And this person in the comments, I can't remember his name. I sent him a DM because this shit hit me so fucking hard. When I tell you I was in here reading with my jaw open the whole time, So, he said, I'm going to turn the music off on this one because we don't need Wine on Your Boomsy in the background of this because this shit is deep. I don't know if I want to do a post on this because this shit is so painful. Okay, let me just read it. My great-grandfather, the Nigerian slave trader. Get ready. Now, there's a lot of African terms here that I'm going to fuck up, okay? And I'm not doing it on purpose. I don't know how to pronounce this shit, but I'm going to try, okay? So I'm just going to warn you ahead of time. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to my Nigerians, but I'm trying here, okay? My parents' home in Umejizi, Nigeria, stands on a hilly plot that has been in our family for more than 100 years. Traditionally, the Igbo, keep that in mind, because I don't know how many tribes there are in Nigeria, but I hear of two most prevalent, Igbo and Yoruba, right? So she said she's from the Igbo, so remember that, okay? She said Igbo. Traditionally, the Igbo people bury their dead among the living, and the ideal resting place for a man and his wives is on the premises of their home. My grandfather, Erasmus, the first black manager of a Bata shoe factory in Aba, is buried under what is now the visitors' living room. My grandmother, so they have a visitors' living room. My grandmother, Helen, who helped establish a local church, is buried near the study. My umbilical cord is buried on the grounds, as are those of my 4 siblings. My eldest brother, Namdi, was born while my parents were studying in England. And in the early 1970s, my father, Chukwuma, preserved the dried umbilical cord, and 18 months later, he brought it home to bury it by the front gate. Down the hill near the river, in an area now overrun by a bush, is the grave of my most celebrated ancestor, my great-grandfather, Nwabani Ogogo Araku. He was a slave trader who gained power and wealth by selling other Africans across the Atlantic. Hold on, Justin Blue wants to join. All right, let's keep going while we're waiting to see. Hello, let me see if I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Hey, how are you?
What's going on? I wanted to come on because I saw what you were reading, and I was like, man, it'd be great if more people could hear this. And so, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, thank you. Yeah, this, sometimes it's not just like the things that are like going on in the news. It's the things that I learned that fuck my head up. You know what I mean? Like, and this was definitely one of those things that kind of had me in a, I was like, whoa. Okay, so let's continue.
All right.
Since that's why you're here. Okay. Should I start over?
It's up to you.
We didn't go that far. So let's start over for those that are joining us. Okay. We're reading. Now I'm nervous, Justin. Damn.
You're good. You do this every day. You built for it.
I know. But shit, I'm sweating and shit.
Hold on.
Okay. Shit, let me start the fan on. Come on now. I'm mad bold when I'm by myself, though.
You got this.
Yeah. I'm I'm mad honest. I'll tell you, I'm nervous. Okay. All right. So we'll get started because Justin has heard the beginning parts of this. So I started reading this because I was talking about how I was in a chat group where I follow different African countries. I follow the hashtags on Instagram. And there was, this whole Abishola show, whatever, has brought up a lot of discussion. And there was a gentleman in the comments, and he said, you need to Google this article. And so I did. I was curious, And the article is called My Great-Grandfather, the Nigerian Slave Trader. My parents' home in, I also said that I'm American and I'm going to fuck up these names, but I'm going to do my best, okay? But I'm going to try. My parents' home in Umijisi, Nigeria, stands on a hilly plot that has been in our family for more than 100 years. Traditionally, the Igbo people, now Igbo, keep in mind, I've heard of two tribes out of Nigeria, most common, Igbo and Yoruba. And so I just want you guys to remember that she said that she is part of the Igbo tribe. Traditionally, the Igbo people bury their dead among the living, and the ideal resting place for a man and his wives is on the premises of their home. My grandfather Erasmus, the first black manager of a Bata shoe factory in Aba, is buried under what is now the visitors' living room. My grandmother Helen, who helped establish a local church, is buried near the study. My umbilical cord is buried on the ground, as are those of my four siblings. My eldest brother, Namdi, was born while my parents were studying in England. In the early 1970s, my father, Chukwuma, preserved the dried umbilical cord, and 18 months later, he brought it home to bury it by the front gate. Down the hill near the river, in an area now overrun by bush, is the grave of my most celebrated ancestor. Keep in mind, she said that this is her most celebrated ancestor. My great-grandfather, Nwabani Jojo Araku. He was a slave trader who gained power and wealth by selling other Africans across the Atlantic. We're going to reread that again. He was her most celebrated ancestor. He gained power and wealth by selling other Africans across the Atlantic. You and me. He was a renowned trader. My father told me proudly he dealt in palm produce and human beings. Long before Europeans arrived, Igbos enslaved other Igbos as punishment for crimes, which we have all heard, that African slavery was not like white supremacy slavery, okay? Long before Europeans arrived, Igbos enslaved other Igbos as punishment for crimes, for the payment of debts, and as prisoners of war. The practice differed from slavery in the Americas. Slaves were permitted to move freely in their communities and to own property, but they were also sometimes sacrificed in religious ceremonies or buried alive with their masters to serve them in the next life. When the transatlantic trade began in the 15th century, the demand for slaves spiked. Igbo traders began kidnapping people from distant villages. We're going to say this again. Igbo traders began kidnapping people from distant villages. Sometimes a family would sell off a disgraced relative, a practice that Ijomo Okoro, a professor of Igbo history at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, likens to the shipping of British convicts to the penal colonies in Australia. And I be watching, there's a show on Hulu called harlots. Apparently, they were sending European convicts to the Americas as well. Not they weren't just sending them to Australia; they were also sending them to the Americas. Okay. Anyway, let's keep going. People would say, "Let them go. I don't want to see them again." Between the 15th and 19th centuries, nearly 1.5 million Igbo slaves were sent across the Middle Passage. But people would say, "Let them go." My great-grandfather was given nickname of Nuwabani, which means from the Bony Port region, because he had the bright skin.
Wait, people are wondering what you're reading. So somebody just asked me what book is it, and so I want to make sure everybody knows what specifically it is that's coming in.
It's an article written in the New Yorker by this person's ancestor, the she said great grandfather, so the great granddaughter, I think it is. I think it's a female. The person's name is very long at the beginning of the article. I'll read the
title?
But just Google "my great grandfather, the Nigerian slave trader," and it'll pop up. It's an article in the New Yorker. Because he had the bright skin and healthy appearance associated at the time with people who lived near the coast and had access to rich foreign food. This became our family name. In the late 19th century, he carried a slave trading license from the Royal Niger Company, an English corporation that ruled southern Nigeria. His agents captured slaves across the region and passed them to middlemen who brought them to the ports of Bonny and Calabar and sold them to white merchants. Let's read that again. His agents captured slaves, so now they're beyond prisoners, they're beyond people who have disgraced themselves. Now they're just capturing them. Sold them to white merchants. Slavery had already been abolished in the United States and in the United Kingdom, but his slaves were legally shipped to Cuba and Brazil. So understand. So let me keep going. Let me keep going, because it's going to get to a point, and that's where my jaw really dropped. United Kingdom, but slaves were legally shipped to Cuba and Brazil. To win his favor, local leaders gave him their daughters in marriage. By his death, he had a dozen wives. His influence drew the attention of colonial officials who appointed him chief. They appointed him chief because of his slave trading. Yo, I'm shaking. His influence drew the attention of colonial officials who appointed him chief of the Umijizi and several other towns. He presided over court and cases and set up churches and schools. Hold on.
So it's saying he set up churches and schools in Nigeria?
Mm-hmm. Let's go back for a second. Let's go back. His influence drew the attention of colonial officials. So white people. The colonizers. So the colonizers made him a chief in Africa, goddammit. They had the power to make him chief in Africa so he could spread churches and schools in colonialism name. Jesus' name. Let's keep going. He built a guest house on the land where my parents' home now stands. So understand, she said now stands. Her family is currently benefiting from the slave trade of our ancestors. They still sitting pretty off this money. Let's keep going. He built a guest house on the land where my parents' home now stands, hosted British dignitaries. He hobnobbed with the colonizers to inform him of their impending arrival and verify their identity. Guests sent him envelopes containing locks of their Caucasian hair. Funeral rites for a distinguished Igbo man traditionally include the slaying of livestock, usually many cows as his family can afford. His name, Ogogo, was esteemed that when he died, a leper was killed, six slaves were buried alive, 6 slaves in Nigeria.
That's crazy.
Were buried alive with him. My family inherited his canvas shoes, which he wore at the time when few Nigerians owned footwear. And the chains of his slaves, which were so heavy that as a child my father could hardly lift them. So not only are they sitting pretty on the money, not only do they have wealth, power, and status, they got the fucking chains as souvenirs. I need a drink. Hold on.
Take your time.
Yo, I'm literally shaking. Throughout my upbringing, my relatives gleefully recounted Ogogo's exploits. When I was about 8, my father took me to see the row of ugba trees where Ogogo kept his slaves chained up. Like, for real? How? Yeah. No wonder we all kinds of avocados. In the 1960s, hold up, bitch. I said that. In the 1960s, a family friend who taught history at a university in the UK saw Ogogo's name mentioned in a textbook about the slave trade. He's so famous for trading niggas, they got him in the history book. Last year, I traveled from Abuja, where I lived, to Umwe. I cannot say that shit to save my life. For my parents' 46th wedding anniversary. My father is the oldest man in his generation and the head of our extended family. One morning, a man arrived at our gate from a distant Anglican church, white, that was celebrating his centenary. Its records showed that Ogogo had given an armed escort to the first missionaries. Armed fucking escort.
Wow.
To the first missionaries in the region. A trio known as the Cookie Brothers. Which I find very odd that it's so close to Coke. Who was just, that whole family was just in the news for all kind of shit. And you know, white folks, when they came to the Americans, they changed their names a lot. So they could hide the Jew, so they could hide the German, so they could hide the Italian, so they could hide the whatever. Okay. The man invited my father to receive an award, goddammit. Let's give him all kind of awards. He gave us plenty niggas. He supplied us with hundreds of niggas. Let's give him awards. After the man left, my father sat in his favorite armchair among a group of his grandchildren and told stories about Ogogo, the famous slave trader. Here's where it gets crazy. Are you not ashamed of what he did? I asked. He said, I I can never be ashamed of him, he said, irritated. Why should I be? His business was legitimate at the time. He was respected by everyone around. My father is a lawyer and a human rights activist who has spent much of his life challenging government abuses in Southeast Nigeria. But you can turn a blind eye to us. But his pride in his family is unwavering. Not everyone could summon the courage to be a slave trader, he said. You have to have some boldness in you. I need a drink. My father succeeded in transmitting to me not just go-go stories, but also pride in his life. During my school days, if a friend asked the meaning of my surname, I gave her a narrative instead of a translation. But in the past decade, I felt a growing sense of unease, guilt. African intellectuals tend to blame the West for the slave trade, but I knew that white traders couldn't have loaded their ships without the help from Africans like my great-grandfather. I read arguments for paying reparations. Okay? Please listen to what she's about to say next, because I think we need to get this money. I read arguments for the paying of reparations to descendants of American slaves and wondered whether someone might soon expect my family to contribute. Absolutely, bitch. You owe us. You can't even, if you gave us all the money you had and the land you had, it still wouldn't be enough, but I'll take it. I could have all your heads and all your money and all your fucking land and it still wouldn't be enough. I could put all your heads on a goddamn spit and it still wouldn't be enough. Okay, let me calm down so I can read. Where the fuck? I couldn't help. Wait. I read arguments. Okay, wait. I knew that white traders couldn't have loaded their ships without help from Africans like my great-grandfather. I read arguments for paying reparations to the descendants of American slaves and wondered whether someone might soon expect my family to contribute. Or other members of my generation felt similarly unsettled. My cousin Chidi, who grew up in England, was 12 years old when we visited Nigeria and asked our uncle the meaning of our surname. He was shocked to learn our family's history and has been reluctant to share it with my British friends.
Wait, can you go back on that part?
I read arguments for paying reparations to the descendants of American slaves and wondered whether someone might soon expect my family to contribute. Other members of my generation felt similarly unsettled. My cousin, Chidi, who grew up in England, was 12 years old when he visited Nigeria and asked our uncle the meaning of our surname. The long one that I can't do. He was shocked to learn our family's history and has been reluctant to share it with his British friends, probably also descendants of slavery. Probably of all shapes, from the Caribbean and from Britain. My cousin Chioma, a doctor in Lagos, see, they doing well. They all over the world. You understand? They getting money. They got money to pay for medical school and shit. Money to send kids abroad. Money to go back home and take back umbilical cords and then bury them in the fucking gate and shit. They balling. My cousin, a doctor in Lagos, told me that she feels anguish when she watches movies about slavery. I cry and I ask God to forgive our ancestors, she said. The British tried to end slavery among the Igbo in the early 1900s, though the practice persisted into the 1940s. 1940! Did you? 1940! In the early years of abolition, by British recommendation, masters adopted their free slaves into their extended families. One of the slaves who joined my family in Nigeria, because, see, when they ended slavery, he still owned slaves that he was going to sell, but now he couldn't sell them, so he got them now. So they adopted them into their family, but not quite.
One question people are asking is, was it from the same tribe, or where were they getting these people from?
They were going to neighboring states and cities and snatching them, kidnapping them. At first, in the beginning, African slavery was prisoners of war or disgraced family members or something, somebody who did something wrong. People that would normally be in prison, they would now be enslaved, and slavery was different. However,
the demand picked up, and then they just started snatching as many as they could.
They would start snatching people from anywhere, for anything, for any reason. So now they have slaves that they have not sold yet, and slavery is now illegal or whatever. Yes. In the early years of abolition, by British recommendation, masters adopted their extended families. One of the slaves who joined my family was Nwankwo, a convicted murderer from another village who chose slavery as an alternative to capital punishment and eventually became Ogogo's most trusted manservant. In the 1940s, after my great-grandfather was long dead, Nwankwo was accused of attempting to poison his heir, Ibokwe, in order to steal a plot of land. My family sentenced him to banishment from the village. When he heard the verdict, he ran down the hill, flung himself on the Ogogo's grave, and wept, saying that my family had once given him refuge and was now casting him out. Eventually, my ancestors allowed him to remain, but instructed all of the free slaves to drop our surname and choose new names. If they had been behaving better, they would have been accepted, my father said. The descendants of freed slaves in southern Nigeria, because I really want you to get this, that there are descendants of slaves in Nigeria. Like, who knew? Probably because they don't have no money to get the fuck out. The descendants of freed slaves in southern Nigeria are called Ohu. So while they're calling us Akatas, their slaves are called Ohu. Still face a significant stigma. Igbo culture forbids them from marrying freeborn people. Now understand. So we got black people over here called Ohu, and we got black people over here called Igbo. And they saying you can't marry over here. See, now it makes sense why you would go on national TV and rank us the way they did. We are slaves to them. That was a harsh realization. To think that people who look like me, who I thought I had a camaraderie with, a camaraderie in blackness, a camaraderie in African descendants, they look at us as fucking slaves. I get it now. I need a drink of that.
Hey, take as many drinks as you need.
Thank you.
There's more?
Oh, yeah. They still face a significant stigma. Igbo culture forbids them from marrying freeborn people and denies them traditional leadership titles such as Eze or Ozo. The Osu and untouchable caste. Untouchable caste. So that means they can never even, they can't get out of it. They can't, you know what I'm saying? You can't work your way out.
It's almost like saying you don't have pure blood, so you'll never have. Yeah.
Nothing. And they do have pure blood because they're pure blood African. We're not pure blood African. We're mixed up with all kind of rapists. You understand what I'm saying? We're not pure blood African, but those Ohus are pure blood African. They are African with African that may not be Igbo, but they African. And that's how they view them. An untouchable caste descended from slaves who served at shrines. May face even more severe persecution. My father considers the Ofu in our family a thorn in our side, constantly in opposition of our decision. Of course they're constantly in opposite of your decisions because you are deciding to oppress them. In the 1980s, oh damn, that was during a land dispute with another family, 2 Ohu families testified against us in court. They hate us, my father said. You're damn right they hate you. No matter how much money they have, they still have a slave mentality. And see, is that what they mean when they call us cicadas? Is that what they mean when they say baby mamas, gang bangers? What else did she say? Baby mamas, gang bangers, and welfare stamps. No matter how much money they have, they still have a slave mentality. My friend Ugo, whose family had a similar disagreement with its Ohu members. So you see, that's her friend now. Her friend has their own Ohu members. So which means that, come on, let's dig deep, which means that they're not the only ones. This is a thing. He wasn't the only slave trader. He might have been a big one, but he wasn't the only one. Because if he was the only one, why do they have Ohus in their family? Its Ohu members told me the dissension is coming from all these people with borrowed blood. Is that how you see us? You know, I'm like a sweet and sour. At first I'm hurt and then I get angry. I cry first and then I get fucking mad. I became aware of the Ohu when I attended boarding school. Boarding school! Okay! That's slave money long. Boarding school money. I'm sure in England, no doubt. Where else would she go to boarding school, okay? I became aware of the Ohu when I attended boarding school in Owerri. Okay, so that's Nigeria. I'm assuming because that sounds like a Nigerian name. So she went to boarding school in Nigeria. I'm sure it ain't cheap. I was interested to discover that another new student's family came from Umujizi, that town that I can't pronounce. Though she told me that they hardly ever visited home. It seemed from our conversations that we might be related. Not an unusual discovery in a large family, but exciting nonetheless. When my parents came to visit, I told them about the girl. My father quietly informed me that we were not blood relatives and that she was an Oshu, the granddaughter of Nakawa Kwan. I can't say it. I'm trying. I'm not sure if this revelation meant much to me at the time. The girl and I remained friendly, though we rarely spoke again about our family. In the year two, oh my God. Okay, I gotta slow down and drinking.
You got it. You got
it. Shit, maybe I need to go get some water. But in the year 2000, another friend named Ugana was forbidden from marrying a man she had dated for years because her family found out that he was an Osu. So now we know why when they were talking about marriage, because that's what they were talking about in that small clip. I ain't watched the show. I damn sure ain't giving them my views. I'm not giving them these eyes, okay? Because they count by the eyeballs, and I'm not giving them these eyeballs. So I saw the clip. So from the clip, she was talking about, they were specifically talking about dating. And that's why I'm saying they put Black Americans all the way at the bottom. Shit. They probably would have put a dog in front of us.
What show?
Somebody loves it's like something Heart Adiola or Abiola or something. There's some new show on CBS where it's another show where they're trying to promote a Black woman with a white man. So this time it's a Black Nigerian woman. She's a working class Black Nigerian woman. And already, just from a couple of clips that I've seen, they've already put her against a Black American, like her son against a Black American son, and the moms are in the principal office. And it was a ridiculous exchange. Then they were all, it's like they're nurses or something at a hospital, and they're like having lunch together with one Black American woman. And it was two Nigerian women. And they're having a discussion about who she should date next. And she said, the friend said, you have to date another Nigerian. And so the Black American woman was like, well, damn, doesn't that thin down your options a little bit if you only gonna keep it to Africans? And the other African lady was like, shh, don't listen to her. Fuck what she said. You got plenty of options. You got Nigerian, same tribe. And in their case, they were Yoruba. Then she said, Nigerian, next tribe, Igbo. Then she said, other Africans. Then Caribbean. Right. Yeah, she started rating them. Then Caribbeans. Then white.
Damn.
Then Black Americans. So this clip has been going around and sparked a lot of debate. Black Americans.
That's some real stuff though, because I've dated African women. And that's kind of what it is. Yeah, it really is what it is.
I haven't dated any African men seriously. Like I went out on a date or two. You know what I'm saying? Where we just but I've definitely heard that. I can't say that I've experienced that myself, but I've definitely heard from other people that when it comes to getting they'll have fun with you all day long. But when it comes to getting married, they're going to marry their own. Like I said, now I don't know that, personally, because I've never been in a serious relationship or anything past 1 or 2 dates, you know what I mean, with the African man. So maybe that's why. Maybe I'm too ADOS. I'm too American because I'm not Caribbean. I'm American. People assume I'm Caribbean because, this is New York or whatever. But I'm American, so maybe that's why I didn't go past 2 dates or whatever, because they found out that I was real American, and maybe they was like, nah, we don't want to who. Okay, let's finish, because this shit, it gets deeper, it just gets crazy. But in 2000, another friend, she was forbidden from marrying a man she dated for years because her family found out that he was Osu. Afterwards, an Osu, Osu, not Ohu, Osu. Afterwards, an Osu friend named Noni, which is a pretty name, I like that, Noni, Nonye. Noni told me that growing up, knowing that her ancestors were slaves was sort of like having a boogeyman around. Recently, I spoke to Nanawana Naya, I can't say that one either, a 39-year-old Oku member of my family. The way you people behave as if we are inferior. And that's exactly what the Black American lady said on the show. She was like, y'all act like y'all better than us. Y'all fucking Africans, y'all all act like y'all better than us. And that's when she was like, oh, you don't make it easy with the baby mamas, gangbangers, and welfare stamps. Anyway, she said, the way your people behave is as if we are inferior, she said. Her parents kept their Oku ancestry a secret from her until she was 17. They're going back and forth. See, this isn't me drinking. They're going back and forth with Oku and Osu. And it made me think that I was bugging. Her parents kept their Oku ancestry a secret from her until she was 17. Although our families were neighbors, she and I rarely interacted. There was a day you saw me and asked me why I was bleaching my skin. Pause. I got to put the phone down. Now we see why skin bleaching is so prevalent in Africa. There's a slave class that is trying to escape their slave class with color. Because, oh gosh. Remember, they said that he had a bright skin tone of somebody from a different culture. So the great-grandfather had a bright skin tone, which helped him to be more.
So he was able to get heavily into the slave trade because of his light skin color, and then he didn't have to worry about getting caught up in it himself.
And there you go. So now we see why bleaching, like this, when I tell you I read this entire article with my mouth, like, hey, I literally was like, because this shit just illuminates so many things, because I didn't understand. I didn't understand how you could grow up in a country where your leaders are black, your teachers are black, your mama is black, everybody is black, but you want to bleach your skin. I don't get it. It's not like here where we have the pseudo Willie Lynch, because everybody has proven that the Willie Lynch letter is not real, but the actual syndrome is real. Whether the letter is or isn't, that's what the fuck happened. Somebody just put it in words, you know what I'm saying? But they didn't have the pseudo Willie Lynch syndrome. So why is it that they have so much, their bleaching is more prevalent there than it is here?
I mean, because so many people forget that they've been colonized too, you know?
True, but now this makes more sense though. To me, that shines, it's because it's got to, to me, it's deeper than just colonizing, because if all of your leaders are black, then why? And you didn't have slavery. I get the colonization, but I didn't understand why is skin bleaching number one in Africa?
I mean, you still have a white Jesus. So?
Well, her grandfather helped bring him in, didn't he? Didn't he? He made sure that everybody, he spread the word. He was the first, he gave armed guard to the missionary. There was a day you saw me and you asked me why I was bleaching my skin, she said. I was very happy because you spoke to me. I went to my mother and I told her that you and I are sisters And that is how sisters are supposed to behave, longing for some kind of connection. Modernization is emboldening the Oku and the freeborn to intermarry, despite the threat of ostracization. I know communities of people of slave descent have become affluent and started demanding the right to hold positions. Professor Okoro told me it's creating conflict in many communities. Last year, in the town of Enugu State, an Ohu man was appointed to a traditional leadership position, sparking mass protests. I want y'all to think about that in the terms of what we're trying to do here with everything. We have, and I'm going to talk about her again, we have people like Cynthia Erivo, who has co-signed and played a part in people talking shit about Americans, then going and playing the strongest of our Black Americans in movie and film, and that's unacceptable. And do you think possibly, see, we don't know history. White supremacy knows history. Do you think that white supremacy knows how they feel about us, and that's why they casted her for that part? Because she don't look like she's doing a good job. From the things I already said, she looks like a scared puppy. She looks scared shitless. And a woman who carried a gun in the middle of the night in pitch black darkness with all kinds of animals and snakes and everything else in the fucking wilderness, in the forest, who told people, if you don't walk with me, I will shoot you where you stand because you cannot go back. She did not have any fear, and I don't give a fuck what anybody says. You cannot play Harriet Tubman with an ounce of fear in your eyes. Do you think maybe that's why white supremacy got her to play our hero? Because they know that she comes from a lineage of people that feel this way about us. Last year in a town in Enugu State, an Ohu man was appointed to a traditional leadership position, sparking mass protests. In a nearby village, an Ohu man became the top police officer, giving the local Ohu enough influence to push reform. Eventually, they were apportioned to a separate section of a community where they can live according to whatever laws they please, away from the freeborn. Just imagine that alone. There are one set of Black people in Nigeria calling another set of Black people in Nigeria freeborn. Right now. Not 1,500, not 1,400, right now. It will probably be a long time before all traces of slavery disappear from the minds of the people. G.T. Bazin, a British missionary, wrote of the Igbo in 1921. He wrote that shit. Until the conscience of the people functions, the distinctions between slave and freeborn will be maintained. And I say they succeeded. That was probably what they was trying to do from the beginning. Ogogo was believed to have acquired spiritual power. Now, let's talk about this now. Ogogo, her grandfather, was believed to have acquired spiritual powers from the shrine of a deity named Nojuku. No, Njoku.
Wait. Whose grandfather? The grandfather who was
Same person, the same slave trading grandfather.
Okay.
Ogogo was believed to have acquired spiritual powers from the shrine of a deity named Njoku, which allowed him to wield influence over white colonists. So here he is thinking he had influence over white colonists, when in actuality, the white colonists were tricking him to usher in colonialism into his country. But he was okay with it because he got rich. He was okay with it because they made him cheap. Among his possessions, which are passed down to the head of the family, was the symbol of his alliance with the Njoku. A pot Okay, that was the Njoku was the deity. A pot containing a human head. So I want you to understand that this is from this man's granddaughter. So is she making this up? Like I know this sounds far-fetched, but this is this man's granddaughter.
For everybody that's been coming on and catching the middle of things, she's reading an article from the New Yorker, and it's written from a slave trader's granddaughter, correct?
Mm-hmm.
But it's not
a Nigerian, evil.
A Nigerian.
A Nigerian. Oh shit! It's about to end, so I'm gonna come right back on.
All right, for sure.
Okay. Hi guys. Well, LaDon, I gotta wait for Justin Blue so we could get. I can't leave them hanging in the middle of the story. No, the Instagram. You know they only let you have an hour, so I got cut off. I had to come back. So I'm gonna wait for Justin. And then we'll finish the story. But tell me what y'all feel about what I've been reading. It's crazy, right? Okay, here it is. Okay, I see it. I just saw it. This is crazy. So y'all see why, like, on top of hi Justin.
Hold on.
So y'all see why, like, on top of what happened to that sister, like, you know, reading stuff, like, I feel like the more knowledge you get, it just makes you sad. It just, as a black person,
it makes you angry a lot of times. Like,
it makes you sad, and then you angry, and it's just, and this broke. This was like finding out like that my man cheated on me. You know what I'm saying? I'm lucky. I've never really had that happen to me before, but that's how I felt. I was like, that's how they feel about us? Okay. All right. So I think we good now. So let's finish it up.
Oh, we gotta let everybody know, like, a quick recap of
okay.
So they know what's going on.
Okay. So I'm reading an article from the New Yorker. It's called "My Nigerian Slave Trader Grandfather," or my grandfather, the Nigerian slave trader. I think that's how it's worded. It's written by the granddaughter. I believe it's a female. It sounds like a female's point of view. Yeah, she said sister, so it's definitely a female. And I ran across this article because I followed different African countries as hashtags, and they were having. Sometimes I get to see personal, I guess, African conversations because these are their country sites, so a lot of them are the ones in the comment section. And so this gentleman had posted. He was like, y'all acting like y'all didn't sell us into slavery, and he was like, Google this. And I don't know, my nosy ass Googled it. And boom, here it is. As reading it, while I was reading it, my mouth was just open, and I felt betrayed. on a level that I had never felt before. I'd always known that Nigerians, not Nigerians in particular, I'd always heard that Africans sold other Africans into slavery, but you hear so many different things. You hear, one, that it was the Arabs, the Africans that had babies with the white people or the colonizers, and they're the ones that sold us into slavery. And then you hear that the Africans that did sell us into slavery, that were full-blooded Africans, they did not know what they were selling us into. That they were selling us, they thought they were selling us into African slavery, and that they were unaware. But according to this article, they were unaware at first. But they soon were aware of what was really going on, and they didn't care because they were gaining financially, politically, and they were gaining status within the colonial world. Is that good?
Yeah, it's good.
So right now, we are into the part of the article where we find out that not only did they sell Africans in the diaspora,
But somebody said, no, that was the Arab slave trade. No, we're speaking specifically about slavery in Nigeria.
Nigerian. This person is speaking as an ancestor of the slave trader. I'm not just pulling shit out of my ass. You know what I'm saying? She is speaking. She wrote this, not me. All I'm doing is reading what she wrote for the New Yorker. How many black people read the New Yorker, number one? Not that many. So she wrote this article. That's something else that just hit me. Who did she write this article for? Did she write this article so she could get a raise and more benefits within white supremacy? Because black people don't read the fucking New Yorker.
I'm with you on that one.
So who'd you write? I question who she wrote this article for. But God bless that brother in the comment section who said it, and God bless the ancestors who had me run across it sporadically, spontaneously in the comments and Googled the shit. Although I wish they would have given me, I don't know, the emotional stability to handle what I read, because I was not ready. I wasn't ready. Okay, so now, yes, not only did we find out that they sold Africans into slavery, but we find out that they also had slaves in Nigeria that they kind of absorbed into their family half-heartedly. Not even half-heartedly. Let's just say partially. Because they gave them the name, then they took it back, and all kind of shit.
It was more like a priority. Like, it was obligation.
Obligation, because the colonizers, the same ones, they was sucking. I'm gonna try to clean my speech up, because you know that Brooklyn we want to come out.
Hey, everybody was bracing themselves for it. It was like,
because people already know from that last one that what I really wanted to say. But I'll try to be a little bit better. But yeah. Anyway, let's just move on before I say what I want to say. Okay. So her grandfather was believed to have acquired spiritual powers from the shrine of a deity named Njoku, which allowed him to wield influence over white colonists. And we spoke about how he thinks he has influence over white colonists, when in actuality, white colonists got him to colonize his fucking country and other countries. As he, gave them armed protection as they go on and do their missionary work. He said that the family was a symbol of alliance among his possessions, which are passed down to the head of the family, was a symbol of his alliance with Njoku. His symbol of his alliance with Njoku was a pot containing a human head. Whose head do you think it was? A slave? You had to cut the head straight into the pot while the person is still alive without touching the floor. my father said. It couldn't just be anybody's head. It had to be somebody you knew. In the Nwabani Ojoku's case, Ojojo's case, this somebody was most likely a slave. When Gilbert, my great uncle, and the previous head of our family died in 1989, his second wife, Nanena, a devout Christian, destroyed the pot. Shortly after, her children began to die mysterious deaths, one after another. Nanena contracted a strange ailment and died in 2009. Some relatives began to fear dark forces had been unleashed. Last July, my father's cousin, Sonny, a professor in engineering. Now, we talked about how they're doing really well. We got doctors. We got civil rights attorneys. We got people in boarding schools. And now we got engineers. Visited my parents to discuss another concern, a growing enmity in our family. Minor arguments had led to relatives to stop speaking to one another. Several had become estranged from the family. We always have one major disagreement or division or another. My father's cousin Samuel told me my cousin Izugio was not surprised by the worrying trend. Across Igbo land, wherever there was slave trade with white people, things never go well. I'm going to read that again because I was stumbling over my words a little bit, and I just want to make sure that you got that. My cousin Ezekiel was not surprised by the worrying trend. Across Igbo land, wherever there was slave trade with white people, things never go well, he said. I want you to think back to when, what's his name, the boy from that show, Atlanta, when he did that video, This is America. Remember they did a This is Nigeria?
I didn't see that one.
It was heavy. He talked about all the fucked up shit that's going on in Nigeria. I recommend that you, and it didn't look much different from America. Let's keep going. Except for the fact that there was no white people. Never go well. They always have problems there. Everybody has noticed it. My relatives thought that our history was coming back to haunt us. Prior to colonization, the Igbo believed that spiritual forces controlled events. If enough misfortune piled up, a family might come to believe that it was the victim of an intergenerational curse resulting from the actions of an ancestor. Family members would just seek out a juju priest who would consult the deity, diagnose the root of the curse, and then expel it through religious ritual. When foreign missionaries arrived, they persuaded the Igbos to embrace Christianity, openly at least. But belief in ancestral curses has remained, cloaked in Bible passages that refer to God visiting the iniquity of fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation. Now, she said that she is the great-grandchild, so that would be the third generation. Many churches now offer services similar to old rituals in which a pastor replaces the juju priest and Jesus replaces the pagan god. This way, evil forces can be exposed without Christians engaging in idolatry. Deliverance usually requires the family to pray, fast, and renounce atrocity. But even as they stand and pretend to be Christians, did her grandfather or her father, did they renounce those atrocities? He boldly said, ashamed of what?
He didn't feel like it was atrocity.
Exactly. Boom. He didn't feel like it was an atrocity. He felt like it was legal. We did what was best at the time. In 2009, the late priest Stephen Njoku wrote a book called Challenge and Deal with Your Evil Foundations, in which he argued that some people should change their names to rid themselves of curses. It's like building a house, he told me. If you don't get the foundations right, if you use substandard materials, or if the stones were not laid properly, the building will inevitably develop cracks and collapse. And I say, bullshit. If you want to do right, you got to do right by the people that you're wrong. And you should start, don't even come over here fucking with us. Start with the goddamn Ohu and the Osu in your own goddamn country. You want to be Christian, this is the problem that I have with a lot of people. A lot of Christians want to be Christian when they fucking feel like it. When they fucking feel like you sat here and you provided armed guard for the fucking missionaries to come in and usher this Jesus to your people. However, you don't want to extend any kind of forgiveness, any kind of mercy, any kind of kindness. And honestly, it seems to me that a lot of the Ohu and the Osu don't even need forgiveness and kindness because they were kidnapped. But you want to treat them like shit. But you're looking for every other way. You want to kill a fatted calf. You want to blow a ram's horn. You want to turn around and shake a feather. You want to do this and you want to do that to try to atone for what the fuck you did. But you're treating the same people like shit to this day. Fuck you. Don't nobody want to hear that shit. Fuck you, your Christianity and fucking religion, all that shit, because it's all fake. You ain't real. Don't come over here and don't help me do shit. How about you treat them people right first? Okay, let me get off my soapbox. You're finished.
Hey, you switch gears fast.
I try to because I don't want to be like just going off on a tirade. I try to catch myself and rein myself back.
You be like.
Right. I have to. Because nobody want to watch 10, 50, you know what I'm saying, 20 minutes of me fucking going off. So let me, I got to bring myself back and try to remember why I'm here. I'm reading this article. The foundation. A number of Igbo communities with names like, they want to change names and shit. They like the white supremacists. I don't know. I'm sorry. I got to go back. I got to, this just hit me. It's like the white supremacists here in New York. You know, all the fucking neighborhoods that they gentrify, you know they change the names. They change the names every fucking word. Brownsville, they calling it Ocean Hill. East Flatbush, they calling it Flatbush Garden. Brownsville, Bed-Stuy, I don't even know what the fuck they calling Bed-Stuy now. They got so many different names for that shit. They call it this one on this block and this on that block. So they learn from colonists, don't do right by the people that you wrong. Just change your name. A number of Igbo communities with names that extol gory histories have taken new ones. In 1992, so now we can't trace, so you trying to make it so we can't trace the fact that you're a fucking slave trader? Because the name that's in the history books is Ogogo. But if they change the name and they move to America and they change their name to Arivo, and I'm not saying she changed her name or nothing like that, but I'm just saying, what if? I'm just saying. And then come here and decide to play Harriet Tubman in one of our fucking movies and suck on ... A number of Igbo communities with names that extol gory histories have taken new ones. In 1992, people in my hometown became concerned about several unexplained deaths of young people After a period of communal prayer, people gathered to the village hall and voted to discard the community's historic name of Umojamzi, which means children of Ojam the king. Ojam was the deity whom the townspeople had worshipped before Christianization, and to whom they made regular human sacrifices. They chose new names, Umijizi, which means children who hold kingship. So that brings me to another point. I was watching Tariq, I was listening to Tariq Nasheed's show today, and he mentioned that a lot of African people, and I didn't want to see this. A lot of African people think that they are the descendants of royalty, and that they can also align themselves with white supremacy royalty against and be over us. So they just changed their name.
I went from engineering to comedy, and I ended up actually co-creating the show. Yeah, I actually, myself and Chuck Lorre and two other guys created this show because I wanted to get our people on television. I wanted them to see us in a better light, see how we come here, we work hard, we contribute, and that's what this show is about. It's about love, it's about kindness, and it's about how we contribute. We come here to work hard and do the best for our families and our children, and that's what this is about. And that's why, you know, when Chuck called me to help with creating this show, of course I wanted to make sure it was authentic.
You just said something heavy right there. That's real. And for everybody on the live, this doesn't apply to all.
No, it does not, because clearly the writer of this article is guilty. I mean, she feels guilty. You understand what I'm saying? Clearly, she feels guilty. She's talking about, like, basically her generation feels guilty. She said her cousin, they all feel guilty about what their ancestors did, and they didn't do it. So, you know, I'm not going to sit there and blame you, but they benefit from the shit.
But then you have them, you also have the slave, like the enslaved descendants as well.
Right, the Ohu and the Osu. So they're experiencing all kinds of problems in Nigeria. So as much as they want to atone, are they making things right for the Ohu and the Osu in their own country? There's a follow-up article that says no, but we're going to keep reading this one. Yes, children of Ojam the king. Ojam was a deity whom the townspeople had worshipped before Christianization and whom they made regular human sacrifices. They chose the new name Umujizi, which means children who hold the kingship, to reflect our severance from the atrocities of the past. Severance from the atrocities, but not severance from the benefits. My relatives disagreed about the cause of our family's curse. Most believe that it was because of Ogogo's slave trading. Some suspected that it was because of his broken alliance with Unjoku, because the wife threw away the pot with the head. My father thought that it might have resulted from his human sacrifices. Sonny was not sure the family was cursed at all. If our problems are because of the sins of our fathers, why are the white people making progress despite of the sins of their fathers? He said, nevertheless, they agreed to hold a deliverance ceremony and settled on a plan. On 3 days near the end of January, from 6 a.m. until noon, family members around the world would fast and pray. So they kidnapped us from our hometowns and families and friends, mothers, fathers and sisters and brothers, and sold us into the most egregious white supremacist slavers this world has ever seen. And they're going to fast and pray their sins away. As they all go to boarding school, live in their parents' guest house on their acres and acres of fucking slave land, slave trader land, while the kids go to medical school, engineering school, boarding school, all over the world. Because their money long. But I know my money long. I'm so sorry that you ain't got no money. I'm so sorry that the white supremacists didn't give you your 40 acres and a mule. I'm so sorry. Help me, Jesus. I'm just going to pray my sins away. But I'm going to still treat these niggas over here like shit, though. And when I come to your country, I'm going to treat you like shit. I'm going to call you an Akata. My father would send out a text message in preparation that included passages from the Bible. He had never been overt religious. And it amused me to watch him organize a global prayer session. You see how they use religion? He's not overly religious, but, you know, to go along to get along. I teased him about the fact that he would have to skip breakfast, which was usually waiting on him, blah, blah, blah. On the first day of the fast, members of my family met in small groups in London, Atlanta, and Johannesburg. Hold up. Aren't the black South Africans living like shit in Johannesburg? I bet you her family isn't living like shit in Johannesburg. I bet you they live in the same gated communities as the white folks. My family met in small groups in London, Atlanta, and Johannesburg. Some talked on the phone, others chatted on social media. 30 members gathered under the canopy of my parents' yard with tears in his eyes. My father explained that in Ogogo's day, selling and sacrificing human beings was common practice. But now that we know it to be deeply offensive to God, but fuck the old who and the old Sue that are living right next door. I'm so sorry to God. But fuck you, bitch. Don't marry my daughter. I fucking care. Oh, he thanked God for the honor and prestige bestowed on our family through my, oh my God, come on. See, this is why they can't get mad, because they so thankful. He thanked God for the honor and prestige bestowed on our family through my great-grandfather and asked God's forgiveness for the atrocities that he committed. We prayed over a passage that my father texted us from the book of Psalms. Who can understand his errors? I guess this is it. Cleanse me from secret faults, from presumptuous sins. Let them not have domination over me. I don't even want this. I'm sorry. I just can't do it. I'm sorry. Y'all read that shit yourself. During the ceremony, I was overwhelmed with relief. My family was finally taking a step beyond whispering and worrying. A step! And this is why I can't. Because it's fake concern. You think that's a step? I don't think that's a step, but whatever. Where? Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, you lost your place?
Yeah, I sure did. I pressed something. Wow, I really fucked that up. I really scrolled up. I'm way up. Okay, during the ceremony, I was overwhelmed with relief. My family was finally taking a step beyond whispering and worrying, a non-step. Of course, nothing can undo the harm that Ogogo caused, and the Ohu are not his direct descendants. Were not invited to the and were not invited to the ceremony. Their mistreatment in the region continues. Still, I felt it important for my family to publicly denounce its role in the slave trade, but they ain't publicly denouncing that money. Our family is taking responsibility. My cousin Chidi, who joined from London, told me, Chioma, who took part in Atlanta, we are trying to make peace and atone for what our ancestors did. How? How? Because that whole ceremony, you didn't invite not one Ohu, not one Osu, not one Akata. So who? On the final day, my relatives strolled along and recently tarred a stretch of road to our local Anglican church. The church was established in 1904 on a land probably established by the same missionaries that he gave cover to come into the country. A land that Ogogo donated. Boom! Inside, a priest presided over a 2-hour prayer session. 2 hours you praying. I'm sure the Ohu and the Osu don't give a fuck about that 2-hour prayer. After the ceremony, my family members discussed making it a yearly ritual. Oh, so now it's just going to be a ritual, but you still want to sit around, you want to shit on the Ohu and the Osu, though. You still want to shit on them and put us on the bottom of y'all list. This sort of thing opened the mercy of God, my mother, Patricia said. People did all these evil things, but they don't talk about it. The more people confess and renounce their evil past, the more cleansing will come to the land. That's the end of that article. Now, I encourage you to read the next one. Maybe another day I will come on to read that one. She has a follow-up article called The Descendants of Slaves in Nigeria Fight for Equality.
Wait, was that the end of the article?
Huh?
Was that the end of the article?
That was the end of the article. So, yeah, and they're both written by the same person. Her name is Adaobi.
It sounds like we're gonna need to how to spell that.
Okay, so the first article, the one that I read, is called My Great Grandfather, the Nigerian Slave Trader. Now, when I Googled it, that's all I needed, and it popped right up. But it is written by Adaobi Trisha, and her last name is Nwabani. Her first name is, I'll read it again, Adaobi Trisha is her middle name, Tricia, and her last name is Nwabani. And then the next article that I read was, what time is it?
It's like 1:09.
Shit. I don't know. There's another long one. You know them.
Oh no, that's gonna be too long.
Yeah, that's a long one. But yeah, the next one is The Descendants of Slaves in Nigeria Fight for Equality. And that one was written in July of this year. So they still fighting for equality. Like the other article was written in 2018. So that was only a couple years ago. That was last year. You understand what I'm saying? So these... Okay, let's decompress, Justin.
No, so yeah, I've been going through the comments a little bit. People looking for my take on it, and I'll say in a general statement, we watered down things to race so much, not understanding that it's so much deeper than race. It goes into class and it goes into people don't think about like how were people split up before the concept of race even came about. even then you had different tribes and you had different groups. And there's only so many resources on the planet. So when there's only so many resources on the planet, that's always going to lead to people battling, people fighting. So it's very easy for us to just quickly mark it off because it's stuff that we don't want to hear. And so when you read something that you don't want to hear, it's just easy to say like, okay, no, that ain't real. But I had a professor, he used to say, do you accept, deny, or reject that statement? It was accept, reject, or object that statement. And basically the difference is, I might be mixing these two up, these two up, but so if you accept something, obviously you just accept it. To reject something is to just say no.
Yeah.
To object something is to say no, and this is because. And
Right.
so there's a lot of people that are just rejecting what's being said, but they don't actually have, okay, well, here's the historical documents on why this can't be true. And so that's what I would challenge everybody here on the live that is hearing something they don't want to hear. Okay, well, if you're in a position to reject it, go and have something where you can actually object it, where you can say that can't be true because of this and that, and have something that you can stand grounds on. But you can't just push something away just because it's not something you like. But going back to what I'm saying, the concept of race has watered down how we view the world. And especially as Black Americans, a lot of times we have this idea that the entire globe views race the same way that we do.
True.
Which is a lie, because the entire world hasn't gone through the same process that we have. And
True.
also, race isn't real. It's a man-made ideology. So that's why we argue about who's Black and who's not. Of course, there's biological differences and things of that nature, but as far as just like a distinct divide between different races, that's just something that we've come up with. So from our perspective, we look out into the rest of the world and we think that they're viewing us as being family, or we think that they're viewing us as being just the same due to our standards of what race is, due to our standards of what Black is, etc. But it don't operate like that. You have certain parts of the world where a person is deemed white if they have one drop of white blood and things of that nature. So
let's keep it 100. I've been places, and I went to, and I'm gonna tell you exactly. I went to Grenada with a friend of mine, and like I didn't stay on a resort. Like I was like, staying at a friend's house, stuff like that. And one of my friend's friend or cousin or whatever, she called me a white girl. Me. And I was like, I'm confused. Like, how can she think I'm white? She was like, because you're American. They assume American is white. And because I don't have Caribbean ancestry, they assume that makes me white. I was like, you need to explain to her that nothing about my Black ass is white. And that's almost an insult. Like, to call me me?
yeah, that was it.
No,
It's
you
like,
calling me white? Like, of all the fucking things. I've
they
had
thought they were giving you a compliment, though.
Huh?
They thought they were giving you a compliment.
Probably. And I'm looking at her like, wait a minute, hold on. You putting me in the same category as white people? No. And I had to clear that up. I was like, yes, I'm American. I was born there, but there's a complete difference between American and white. And I was explaining to her, like, I don't have no fucking money. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the number one difference. The number one difference is, especially at that time, because I was really young, I was really broke. I think I was on unemployment at the time. That's why I had the time off. And I was like, yo, she needs to understand, like, I scraped up all my pennies to come on this trip. Matter of fact, when I went there, I was like, shit, they living good. Shit, that her house was bigger than mine. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, somebody just put a comment. They said white is a status, and that's real. It's a status more than anything. Because you got people that's pitch black around other people who are pitch black, but they consider themselves to be white, and they consider the other people to be black just based off of whatever their social status is or how much money they have, all of those things. And so that's something very important to be aware of when we start like I have Pan-African views, but at the same time, it's important to not be naive about our Pan-African views as well, because, as I said, not everybody is working from the same.
That's right.
Ideology of race that we're working on, and so with having Pan-Africanism, a lot of the ideologies spring from America. We, being a naive group, not traveled a lot of the world. You gotta think, a lot of times when these ideologies came about, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have
we didn't have the New Yorker article where the girl was breaking down her fucking lineage.
Facts as well, but we didn't get to see how other people were living. We didn't get to see how other people were thinking, how other people's views were. So we just thought that, okay, this is how race works over here. This is how everybody else is thinking, and so I don't say this to be divisive, but I do say it for people to understand that not everybody sees the world through the same lens as we do. So I was reading one article for one of my classes, and it was something about there were these black tourists, and they went over to Africa, and they kept running into people who were just saying like brother, sister, welcome home. Let me show you the right way. But those people were really trying to rob them. And I'm not saying that applies to all Africans on the continent.
Right.
But what I am saying is, not everybody sees the world through your lens. You go to a place that you've never been before, to a people that a lot of times haven't even heard things about you or have heard strictly negative things about you, aside from you having money, and thinking that y'all are on one accord. That's not always the case.
Yeah.
Also too, I see people in the comment section hearing about the article, hearing about there being a major slave trader of Nigerian descent living in Nigeria and having a family lineage that is wealthy and happy about them being a successful slave trader. And trying to divert attention away from that and saying that's not all of Africa. And I agree, it's not all of Africa.
Of course.
But at the same time, just because that's not all of Africa, that doesn't mean that you throw away all the information that's being said. If you can disprove the article, then disprove the article. But don't try to neglect the information that's being dropped also. So.
And honestly, I have to be honest, like, this wasn't something that gave me pride. When I didn't read this article because I wanted to, you know what I'm saying? Like, everybody knows I'm from Brooklyn. Like, none of my friends are American. I'm in Carnival. I'm on Labor Day with my red, black, and green American flag. You know, I embrace all cultures, all black people from everywhere, and I want to learn where you're from, and I want to know what it's like where you live. You know what I'm saying? I want to know these things. So this wasn't something, and I know Nigerian people that I'm mad cool with. You think this is something that I wanted to learn? You think, and that's the thing with black people. Did you want to learn that white supremacy is trying to kill you because they're afraid of genetic annihilation? Was that something that you wanted to hear? Whether you want to hear the truth or not, black people, you know what we act like? And y'all gonna have to watch my mouth. Y'all gonna have to, I'm not watching my mouth, put it this way. Y'all gonna have to just forgive me.
Hey, it's after 12 p.m.
Okay, all right, and I've been drinking, and it's Friday night. So, black people are like fucking abused women. We are like abused women. We like dumbass women who let dudes tell them any fucking thing. You know what I'm saying? A dude come to your house and he tell you I'm gonna be there, I'm gonna pick you up at 8 o'clock, he don't show up till 1 o'clock, and you listen to whatever the fuck he's gonna tell you. That's how the fuck we are. If somebody is telling you the truth, you listen to them. You think I wanted to read that shit? That shit broke my fucking heart. To hear this woman, a Nigerian woman who I didn't know we had beef with. know there was a thing between American blacks and Nigerians. I didn't know. You think I wanted to learn this shit? It broke my fucking heart. Whether it breaks your heart or not doesn't make it untrue. It doesn't make it untrue. If your man is cheating on you, you gotta face facts. Like, you know what I'm saying? You can't sit here and lie to yourself. We like sweet lies, black people. I'm not a woman that deals with sweet lies. That's why my fucking ass is single. I don't deal with sweet lies. You tell me the truth, I like it and I stay, or I don't and I leave. But if you lie to me, I'm leaving. Period. And as Americans, we like sweet lies. You are so good at reading the comments, and I'm terrible.
No, all right. So no, there's a comment here that I was tempted not to address, but it says, "Sorry, other states are different than California. In California, we have so much more cultural diversity."
Pause. I lived in California. Shut the fuck up. Let me tell you something right now. One thing I learned about California, then explain to me LAPD. Explain to me
the need for the Black Panther Party.
Right. Explain to me how California was the breeding ground for the biggest Black Panther Party and all the Black Panther parties, which was Oakland, California. Explain to me that. If there wasn't a need for the Black Panther Party in Oakland, California, then why the fuck were they there? You want to tell me? I lived in California. I saw the most oppressive school-to-prison pipeline that I witnessed as a student in California. I never seen so many kids get arrested, and that's back in the day. I never seen so many kids get arrested for a fucking school fight and sent to jail with charges because they fought non-black people and won. So don't tell me how California is this. I remember trying to get a summer job in California as a black girl and getting told I walk in places where they have signs that say, for help or, help wanted. And I get in there and they tell my black ass that they don't have no more applications. So don't tell me how California is so fucking liberal. I know black men personally who went to jail for rape that they never committed. There's one guy I didn't even like. I can't stand this dude. Me and him were at odds all the time, but I know he didn't rape that girl. I couldn't stand him. But I know he didn't. I've seen more black men personally with my own two eyes. So don't tell me how California is so progressive. You are an Ed Buck is running around fucking niggas and killing them in his fucking house. That's in California. Ed Buck is running around here gathering up all the gay black men and killing them and giving them drugs in his house. That's happening in California. And nobody arrested him until 3 black men almost died in that house. A third one almost died. And then they finally arrested him. So tell me again about how California is so fucking liberal. Tell me again. You've been smoking too much fucking weed, and that shit is a joke too. Because don't you know that once you sign up for medical marijuana, you can't apply for a gun license, you fucking idiot?
Hey, you said it all.
Once you apply for a marijuana fucking license, a medical marijuana card, you cannot apply for a license. So you gave up the right to protect yourself and your family to smoke weed. And that's what it sounds like you doing when you tell me that California is different. Go down to the California prisons and ask those black men that locked up for fucking nothing how different California is. Go down there and ask them how liberal California is, the black men in the prison. Tell me about a state that I ain't lived in. Tell me about a state that I haven't lived in. I finished high school in California. I know a lot of... Why the hell you think I moved back to New York? Now, I can tell you about what it's like being a black woman in California. Where the black men that look like you wouldn't even spit on your black ass if you was on fire. Them black men don't want nothing to do with a black woman for miles. Why do you think I moved back to Brooklyn? I seen black men knock my pretty black ass over to get to the fattest, whitest, SpongeBob SquarePants built bitch I ever seen. Tell me again about California. Why the fuck you think I left? I seen beautiful black women in California with self-esteem under the floor. Because black men don't look at them twice. And you know who is looking at them? Them white boys. I'll tell you that right now. Who went after me heavy? White boys. Them white boys was on it. On it. Black men wouldn't look at me twice. I went back for my sister's wedding. There was a white man in her, and he was the best friends with him, you know, like he's friends with my sister's husband. His wife was there. He was on it. In front of his wife. He was like, oh my God, your sister. Oh my God. In front of his wife. You want to know why there's so much interracial dating in California? Because nobody looks at a black woman. No black men look at black women. And I'm here and I'm telling you. That's why I got on the first thing smoking out that bitch. I'm still single, but whatever. But at least I'm not ignored. You know what I'm saying? Now, I haven't found the right one, but I'm not being ignored in California. You are ignored. You don't exist. No, I'm not married. I'm divorced. I did see that comment. Okay, so yeah. So anyway, I don't want to hear that about California. Like, don't tell me that. Every state is fucking racist. Texas is. I'm feeling like Texas is the most racist of all states right now.
Man, I can't pinpoint which state is the most racist. It's all part of the same thing.
Yeah, but them police in Texas, that shit.
Thing is, I mean, I don't feel like the police in Texas are more racist. I think they just more sloppy with their deeds. I think they're just more sloppy with it. That's all.
I don't know if they're more sloppy or it's so embedded in the culture that they don't give a fuck. They don't have to be careful because why do they need to be careful? The judges are in it, the DA, you know what I'm saying? They don't have to be careful. Because everybody's in on it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's actually sloppy because it seems to be working.
But that's the thing. I feel like they're all in on it in other places too. It's just they do a better job at hiding it. That's the only thing. If you have all these shootings and a very, 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 very small percentage even miss a paycheck, how could everybody not be in on it? So I think
you might be right.
So I'm just saying it's not that it's drastically different. It's just they sloppy with it. That's all. They sloppy.
But are they sloppy or do they just not give a fuck? Because remember Texas was the same state that they was on a horse carrying, transporting their blood.
It's like, all right. So let's say you got two people who cheat on their spouse, right? There's two people. You got the one person like they getting caught every other week or every month. They get caught. Then you got other person, they ain't never get caught. They never will get caught. They just good at what they do, right? The person who's getting caught every week, every other week, they moving like that because they know everything will be okay, even if they get caught.
Right.
This is the person who's like they do whatever they do, but they never get caught. They never will.
Okay.
That's because they know the consequences. They know they in that situation they're not allowed to. So it's like
Right.
So I say the same thing applies with different agencies. So you have those agencies in Texas. They're like, okay, we can do this. It's a lot of open land. We have a lot of power to the extent where we can just do this blatantly, and everything gonna be cool. Because these black folks over here so scared, ain't shit gonna happen anyway. They don't pull no power. 9 times out of 10, nobody's gonna hear about it. Versus the other areas, they know that ain't gonna work in that predicament, so they gotta move a lot smoother. And so I think it's like that. They both stop, like they're both doing negative things. It's just one hides it better.
You might be right on that. Because I definitely remember doing a post.
Oh, but one more thing. Black men don't cheat. So anyway, continue what you're saying.
I'm gonna agree with that. I've never had a black man cheat on me.
It don't happen. It doesn't happen.
Okay.
It don't exist.
As far as I'm concerned, it don't exist. I never had a black man cheat on me, so I'm gonna put that out there. So I will say I will agree with that. Okay.
Hey,
my exes had issues, but that was not one of them. They were all good dudes when it came to that situation. They all were faithful, and they were all good dudes.
It don't exist. I mean, I did a lot of studying, a lot of research. I look deep too. I look deep, but I really couldn't pinpoint it.
Well, I won't say that, but I will say in my
pinpoint it.
I will say my personal experience.
Oh.
And I am willing to keep saying that because I will speak life into my brothers, and I will keep telling you that you don't cheat, and that way you do not cheat.
Well, we don't. That's the thing.
That's right.
Actually, but
you will continue to not cheat.
No, but what I will say in my research, I did run across one black man who cheated, but it was only because of his white ancestors. So.
I feel you. It gets you every time the colonizer runs. Okay. All right. Now you done completely threw my train of thought. I don't know where the fuck I was going before that black men don't cheat shit.
I mean, hey, we could end the live right there. That's just fact. You don't get no heavier than that.
You want to end it on a good note? Well, you know, I did. We could end it on that note because I started off the live in the beginning talking about how I was going to protect the black man's testicles, right? Because I was talking about.
Wait! I was reading the comment and I heard black man's testicles and it brought me back in. What
So I started off the live talking about how this live was going to be about protecting the black man's testicles. And it was because I talked about, I kind of wanted to read that, and it's too late now. I'll try to make a post about it. There was an article about a charter school CEO here in New York, specifically Brooklyn, who had to resign because of some white supremacist statements that he said. And I was telling people about my experience working in charter school when I thought I was doing good for the community. And I saw from the inside out, like one year we had like a whole bunch of black male teachers, like straight black male teachers. This year I had never seen so many black straight male teachers, right? And I was so excited to be working with these brothers. And I watched the administration clip off their balls one by one, and then I watched them leave one by one, because a straight black man with testicles is not going to allow you to cut them off every single day when he comes to work. So, you know, he's going to have to leave. He's going to want to be somewhere where his balls can swing low. Shit. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, so on that note, since I started off the conversation talking about that, we can end it on black men don't cheat.
Man. Well, can you say that again?
I said we can end it on black men don't cheat.
Oh, wow, that's deep, sister. That's deep. That is deep. That is really deep. That's like, wow, I never heard it articulated so well. That is, wow.
Well, yeah, like it's something I saw firsthand, and I didn't really, that was before I knew about Dr. Francis Cresswell Singh. That was before I knew about Nellie Fuller. But I knew something wasn't right, and I didn't like it, and I think that's part of the reason. So many things have happened in my life too that led me on my journey of discovery and stuff like that. But that was definitely one of them, because I didn't understand why they would prevent the Black men from being positive role models in the children's lives. But I did know that it was white supremacy. I knew that much, but I didn't know why. I didn't understand, the ins and outs of what it was, but I knew. And so, like I was there. It was really sad to see it. I talked about how I knew a teacher from another school, and then he was now at this school, and I saw the difference. Like at the other school, he had the kids on lock. Everybody was afraid of him, afraid and respected. You know what I'm saying? You know how that father figure is. They knew he was nothing to fuck with.
Yeah.
And when he came to this school, it was kind of different because of the perimeters that they placed on him. And the perimeters that they placed on him was, can you leave your nuts by the door?
It's kind of like he got to tuck his tail when he walk in the classroom.
Absolutely. Don't raise your voice. Don't do anything that signifies masculinity, manhood, and everything. And like I said, I even went further to even talk about how that they did the same thing to a couple of women. It was like there was one particular teacher who she had 3 boys and a husband, of course, so she wasn't raising these kids all by herself. I want to give the husband his proper due because he's a very sweet gentleman. Like he treated her like a queen. So I wanted to give him his proper dues, but she was the teacher. So she was now a teacher at the school, and I'm sitting there, and at first everybody was talking about how great she had a hands on her classroom and everything. And by December, they telling her that, she needs to stop doing this and stop doing this. I got 22 seconds.
Oh, snap.
It's about to, so we might as well just wrap this up. I don't think you want to come back.
All right, everybody. Well, and make sure y'all go follow her, support her page. She puts out a lot of great information. So, yeah, go follow her. And, I respect what you do.
7 seconds. Thank you so much, Justin. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining.